Hi, my name is Mark. I'm one of the pastors at Trillium. When you feel overwhelmed in life, what do you do? How do you respond? When life comes at you in a hard way, when the pressure's on, what's your way of coping? For myself, I like to hide under the covers of my bed, or perhaps I'll come down into my office and shut the door and put some music on, or maybe I'll just do some crafts for a period of time and kind of step away from life. What do you do to cope with the pressures of life? And we're living in a time of real turbulence, a lot of turbulence going on around us, from COVID to the war in Ukraine to escalating gas prices, food prices. Cost of living seems to be out of control. There's lots of cultural change going on around us, social upheaval. It's a lot of pressure in the moment. I think a lot of people feel out of step with the popular mood today. When that happens, I think the tendency within us is just to stay quiet, to step away as best we can, to become inconspicuous, to be invisible if possible, to disappear. We've seen what can happen to people when they stick their neck out and say something that may be out of step with the popular mood of the time. So we've learned that it's better in most cases to be quiet, as they say, inconspicuous. Those first disciples learned this lesson the hard way. They had been with Jesus when he was conspicuous, when he was coming into Jerusalem. Some people were proclaiming him as Messiah. It was almost as if he was ready to reach for the top. And yet in 24 hours, he was at the very bottom. Went from top to bottom in 24 hours. He got arrested, paraded before a religious kangaroo court, brought before civil authority for punishment. The mob turned on him. He's crucified and now dead. And there's the disciples, overwhelmed in the moment. See, they scampered away from him. Under the pressure of the moment, they failed the test to stay with him, to be identified with him. I think most of us, if we're given enough time, will do the right thing or say the right thing. At least we can. But pressured under the moment, we often flinch. We falter. We freeze, and then we run away. See, we've learned often the hard way that our safety lies in being inconspicuous, in learning how to disappear from others. And that's what's happened to the disciples. Out of step with the popular mood of the moment, they've hidden themselves away in a room with a locked door. They're afraid of the authority. They're afraid of the mob coming after them. They're afraid for their own lives, for punishment, maybe even death. They don't want to be identified with Jesus anymore. He's a dead man. No one wants to be identified with a dead man. And there they are, afraid, hiding behind a locked door in a room in a home, probably in some backward part of Jerusalem. They have disappeared, for sure. I think many of us hide our faith away like those first disciples. We try to remain inconspicuous in our faith with others. We keep it invisible to others. Now, those first disciples still believed that Jesus was dead. That was their understanding. But for those of us who know the whole story, what's our excuse for maintaining a life, an inconspicuous life of faith, a life that's hidden away from others? We know the whole story. We know that God raised Jesus to life, that God's power of life overcame death, that God's power of love overcame the hatred and violence of the world. So why are we hiding our life of faith away from others? Why have we locked it behind a door to make it as inconspicuous as possible to others? No, Jesus managed to get to the other side of that locked door, and he stands in front of the disciples. He says, "Peace be with you." He reveals himself to them. He's come for one purpose and one purpose only, to get them out of the locked door room. See, in that room, locked with a locked door, they're useless to God. They're useless to him. They're impotent. They have no power. He needs to get them out of that locked door room. And so he breathes upon them the Holy Spirit. The resurrected life of Jesus comes to live within those first disciples. And the door that's been locked is open to them, and they have now been given power to live a conspicuous life of faith with others, even against the popular mood of their time. We won't see the resurrected Jesus the way those first disciples did. That was a one-time event, but we are offered the same Holy Spirit. The same resurrected life of Jesus can come to live in us the way it did in them. And we will find that when the Holy Spirit comes to us, that locked door that we hide our faith behind will be open to us. And we too will be able to go out in a conspicuous, open way and live God's way of love and life with all. All we need to do today is ask for God to give us, the Holy Spirit, the resurrected life of Jesus. And that will change us. And because it changes us, it will change the world.